The MVP race this year couldn't be more interesting, but also frustrating. Just when one guy looks like he's pulling ahead of everyone else, he has a horrible performance, and then someone else becomes the favorite and does the exact same thing. But before we talk about who deserves the MVP and whether or not this award has been a problem, let's first take a brief look at who has been the favorite for this award at different parts of the year, because I feel like that context is necessary before we talk about where we are right now. Just ahead of kickoff in week 1, the odds for NFL MVP went like this. Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow were the top favorites, followed by Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Herbert. In week 1, Tua Tagovailoa threw for 466 yards and took over as the MVP favorite. And in week 2, Tua pulled away even more after defeating New England. In week 3, he dismantled the Broncos defense on the way to a 70-point game, and Tua was by far the favorite for this award. But that was until week 4, when Josh Allen and the Bills destroyed the Dolphins and Allen took over as the MVP favorite, with Tua still close behind, along with Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Joe Burrow had completely fallen out of the conversation after a bad start to the year, and Justin Herbert was also not in the conversation. In week 5, Brock Purdy dismantled the Cowboys and moved up to 6th in the MVP odds, and Christian McCaffrey moved into 7th. Patrick Mahomes took over as the new favorite after Tua threw 2 picks versus the Giants. Things remained relatively similar until week 8 as Tua continued to struggle and the Chiefs continued to thrive. However, Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey had completely fallen out of the picture after 3 straight losses. In week 8, Patrick Mahomes had a bad outing versus Denver and Tua once again took over as the favorite. But in week 9, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs defeated Miami, putting Mahomes on top. Let's pause right there because, first of all, that's a lot to unpack, and after this, it really starts to get interesting. So far, it's really just been Tua and Mahomes going back and forth, with guys like Purdy, McCaffrey, Hill, Prescott, Hurts, Allen, and Jackson sneaking into the picture, but never quite to the top. In week 10, that would change because Jalen Hurts took over as the favorite with Mahomes and Tua slightly fading. It would stay this way until week 14, where Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy were on the rise, and Mahomes and Hurts were on the downfall. In week 15, Dak completely crumbled and fell back once again as Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey climbed back to the top, with Josh Allen close behind. And then week 16, on Christmas Day, for the first time all year, Lamar Jackson takes over as the MVP favorite. Of course, there's a lot of things you notice when you go through every week and who was the favorite for MVP. The first tendency is that one bad game really hurts. This is why Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey are at the top of the list, as they haven't had any bad games as of late, but guys like Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, who've been having rough stretches of games, have fallen out of the conversation a little bit. Another thing is that there's an extreme recency bias with these odds. Like right now, Josh Allen appears to be third after McCaffrey and Jackson, when the start of the year was filled with turnovers, and he still has the third most turnovers in the league. Although he redeemed himself against the Giants, Jalen Hurts is not really in the MVP conversation anymore. The reason for this is mostly due to turnovers in recent weeks, but he has the same amount of turnovers as Josh Allen. But because the bulk of Allen's turnovers came early in the year, whereas Hurts's came recently, Allen is above him. And it also helps that Allen leads the league in total touchdowns, but Hurts isn't too far behind. At this point, I feel like anyone in the top 5 to 6 can win this award. That might come as a surprise, and I know a lot of people think that it's over and that either Jackson or McCaffrey will win this award. I think based on the first 16 weeks, you never know what could happen. If Lamar has a bad game versus the Dolphins and Tua puts together a masterpiece, Tua might be the favorite again. Or if Lamar and Tua both have bad games, that opens the door for Christian McCaffrey to steal the award. So it's definitely not over yet, but as of right now, it has to be either Jackson or McCaffrey. And here's where the problem starts to rise. Lamar Jackson has been incredible this year, but had a couple of underwhelming games earlier in the year where he didn't have to do as much to win, or games where they lost, such as against Pittsburgh, where he didn't give them quite enough. But you can say that about literally every one of these players on this list. Everyone has had moments where they let their team down and came up short in important games. Except for one player. One player who's been absolutely flawless, and there was never a point where it felt like he could have done more. Week in and week out, he always gives his team everything he has, and even when the team loses, he still puts on a great performance. That player is Christian McCaffrey. This guy is the offense in San Francisco. All those stars on offense, but without McCaffrey, the team isn't the same. We've seen this displayed early in the season during the 49ers' 3-game losing streak, where McCaffrey was banged up and the team just couldn't move the ball. McCaffrey to me is the definition of an MVP. Consistently incredible and the reason his team wins games. But will the NFL give a running back the award? I honestly don't think so. If Lamar Jackson puts together 2 solid games, I think it's his award. In my opinion, Dolphins versus Ravens will determine the MVP, as if one of either Lamar or Tua put together a great game, I think they will win the award. All McCaffrey can do is just continue to play his game and hope that Lamar or Tua slip up. But players don't really care about this award anyway. Whether the players are faking it or not, in press conferences, people really haven't been too excited about the MVP award. At the end of the day, this award is just for the people to debate about at this point and adds a little excitement behind every good performance. But the MVP award has been confusing this whole year, but the picture is finally starting to clear itself up. But that's it for me. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more content like this throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs, subscribe to the channel. But I'll see you all in the next video.